Hey, good evening. Welcome out to this Thursday night call. This is actually, my name's Ferre. I'm sitting here with Stephen Swenson of Tax Sale Support, and this is kind of a free webinar that we do for people uh, every couple months based on things related to tax liens or tax deeds and investing.
Yeah, exactly. Like Shade said, about once a month or so, we like to hold a online workshop for investors to teach them about tax liens and deeds. Maybe many of you are kind of new to tax liens and deeds, have just heard about it. Some of you may have had experience with it in the past, but that's kind of our goal with these seminars, is just to kind of inform the public and new investors about tax sales.
Yeah, now some of you may be familiar with this. You may have been on these before, but you also might be brand new to it. And so we should probably first kind of cover a little bit about who we are, because you may not know. Some of you may have found us through YouTube videos, though.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of people finding us and watching us on YouTube. We have a lot of different hours worth of training on there that's available. But we first started in tax sales in 1999. I was a brand new real estate agent, and my broker invited me to come out and attend the tax sale and kind of explained what the tax sale, and this was tax deeds, what tax deed foreclosures were, as we drived over. And once I attended that first sale, me and Shade are cousins, and so we've grown up together, and I got him involved, and we tried to learn everything we could about tax liens and tax deeds.
Yeah, which I think the time that we were getting involved was a really important time, because it was at the tail end of, the internet was beginning to make a major impact on everything in life, and that was including counties. And and also what we found, though, was learning. I think we went through the same process that many of you are going through or have been through, trying to figure out how a lot of it worked. And ultimately, where we really began to learn, I think, was when we started attending auctions and breaking down individual states.
Yeah, exactly. We tried to find any books or programs or anything like that at the time, but the problem is most of the information was outdated, because what had changed between when the books were written and when we were reading it was the internet. And so, even the way of researching counties and online auctions and all of these different things were completely changing. And so, really it was through, like Shade said, going to auctions, figuring out how this worked, really kind of on our own, over a period of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and what we specialized in was in internet-based research and investing opportunities. So there were still lots of live sales, but we were also seeing a lot of new online auctions that were popping up and different opportunities. And so eventually we created a training program that we private labeled for some of the big seminar companies, and we did that for for a long time. We was able to reach a lot of people that way. But it didn't last forever that way, because we found things we didn't like.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Shade said, it was great getting the opportunity to teach that many students, but we kind of got tired of dealing with other people and other companies, and so we decided to leave the seminar industry and essentially take our program and put it online.
Just bring it directly to the people.
Yeah, exactly. So take, the expensive books and tapes they were selling in the seminars and just make it an online program and sell it for a low monthly amount. And so that's kind of how we started Tax Sale Support, and kind of really where we are now.
Yeah. Really, for us, when it comes to seminar companies and how a lot of it's done, they're sales organizations, and our mindset was always based on the teaching side of it and success. We want people to buy things and have success here with it, and so really had different perspectives. But I'm really glad that we did offer the monthly membership, because it's totally changed the direction that things have gone, and we've been able to help a lot more people because of it, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So as far as tax sales, we're actually going to talk tonight about online auctions. But before we get into online auctions, we just kind of quickly want to go over what tax liens, tax deeds, and redemption deeds are. That way, you guys are at least familiar with how they work if you're brand new to this.
Yeah, and really, it's state law that kind of determines, how, where these are all used at, because it's state law that gives the state the power to tax you. Whether you're dealing with, Arizona or Florida or any state in the country, essentially, or any county in the country, basically every place is going to use one of three different systems. There are actually a couple of states that use more than one system, but pretty much every place will fall under one of three different categories or tax sale types. And those are tax lien certificates, tax deeds, or tax deed foreclosures, and redemption deeds. So tax liens, I think they're first, and they're also probably one of the more misunderstood.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. As far as tax liens, a tax lien is a lien that's placed against the property for because the property owner was delinquent and hasn't been paying their property taxes. And so these tax liens are offered to investors that are willing to pay off those back taxes, kind of like a loan.
Yeah, really, it's a need-based investment. The county has a need there. They need to be able to collect the funds faster, and at the same time, property taxes, some people pay it late, and so that's really where the tax lien system comes in. Where a lot of the confusion comes in, though, is in what people believe they're getting, I think, with the investment, and really what they're after there. Liens are generally something that they offer tremendous levels of security, because you're talking about what usually a lien is usually for a small amount, a year's worth of taxes in most cases. And it's usually held against the entire property value. So it has a tremendous amount of security there. And the fact is, most people pay off their taxes eventually. Most people don't lose their property to foreclosure. So it's usually just a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is once those tax liens are offered at the sale, and an investor purchases the debt, essentially the investor is entitled to things. First of all, they're going to be given a rate of return or an interest rate return off of the money that they're investing. Now, what's nice about tax liens is a lot of times these are going to be double-digit returns. Usually the state law dictates anywhere between 10 to 24% return off that money. But then there's also what's called a redemption period that the property owner has to repay the taxes. So the investor's earning an interest rate, and the property owner or the lien holder has a time frame where that money can be owed before the property can be foreclosed on.
Yeah, delinquent owners don't have to worry about losing their house immediately to foreclosure, because they have a redemption period, that they can use, and liens can be issued during that time. But once the redemption period expires, then you can lose a property to foreclosure, if you don't pay it off. So really, every lien is going to have one of two different outcomes. Either the delinquent property owner pays off their tax bill, in which case investor gets a check in the mail for their initial investment plus the interest rate return, or the redemption period passes and the lien holder uses the lien to foreclose on the property, and becomes the new property owner. It's either going to result in redemption or foreclosure.
Yeah, exactly. Tax liens are such a great investment because, first of all, they're backed by state law, and then the property itself is collateral for the debt, for the lien amount. So, when you're buying a tax lien certificate, usually the property taxes are only 1%, maybe 2% of the property's value. So if you're looking at a $100,000 home, it's possible that tax lien could be $100 to $1,500, maybe $2,000. That's a small percentage of the property's value. So most of the time, tax liens redeem. 95% of the time, you're going to get back your money in the interest rate return. But 5% of the time, those end up getting properties that ended up getting foreclosed on and then became the lien holder became the new property owner.
Yeah. Now, precise percentages can vary from from place to place, but it usually falls within or around that range because the vast majority of property owners just pay out their property taxes eventually, even if it's late. And so the thing about liens is that the vast majority of the time they result in the investor getting a check in the mail and not really needing to do anything, which is one of the reasons why they're very attractive to large institutional buyers and large banks. They have been buying up liens for a long time. It's been one of their it's been one of the sneakier little investments they've been doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's also why they're attractive to investors that have retirement funds like a self-directed account, or maybe they have an IRA account that they want to move over to a self-directed account, because that gives them the opportunity to, in a way, kind of invest in real estate where they're getting, at the same time, it's kind of like a stock where they're getting that guaranteed interest rate return.
Yeah. In fact, states will set a maximum rate of return that you can earn on liens, which it may be the maximum, but it's also the default in many cases. If you're buying it, let's say like over the counter, so after the sale, then you're going to automatically earn that maximum rate of return as well. So that's something that's nice about the way they have that written out.
Yeah, in fact, here are two different tax liens that were purchased by members of our program, our coaching program. And you can see here, each one of these properties aren't necessarily the most fancy property in the world, but you're looking at properties that are valued between 50 to 70 grand, 65 grand, where the amount of the lien is between $800 to $1,200.
Yeah, now neither one is likely to result into foreclosure, but they're both well secured if they needed to.
Yeah.
So if the redemption period passed based on the amount that the investors paid, would it be worth it to foreclose on those properties? Well, heck yeah. It's going to be very worth it because it's going to be highly profitable, as you can see.
Yeah, and both of these tax lien certificates are earning a 14% guaranteed return. So until that property owner pays them back, they're going to be making 14% on their money.
Yeah, which that basically happens when it all culminates, once the buyer pays. So yeah, these were a couple of deals purchased here by members. Here's some other tax liens.
Yeah, these are some other tax liens. One strategy that we focus on with some of our coaching members and our members of our program is hitting up certain tax sales right after the auction has taken place to go through and find the best over the counters. And there's certain strategies we teach in how to do that. But here's some examples of tax liens that were purchased using that strategy.
Yeah, so what you'll see with all of these is that they're all earning the maximum rate, allowable in the state of 18% annually, but the tax amount is fairly small, minuscule compared to the value of the property here in almost all of these cases for highly secure investment.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you ever had the chance to foreclose on any of these, it would be well worth the effort. It's the same with any of these. It'd be well worth the effort to foreclose on them. They're all highly secured, and that's really what liens are about. Is about earning that high interest rate return on such a safe investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's all kinds of different properties that you can find through a tax lien certificate. Right here, we're just showing examples of structured property, but there's many good tax liens on land as well that are completely worth buying and getting a great return on.
Yeah, so there are about a third of the states out there that use a tax lien system in one form or another, but it's not every state. There are some states that use a little bit different system. I think each system, I think, has some benefits and drawbacks. One of the benefits of a tax lien system is that it's pretty fast. A county can set it up and do it for a single year's worth of taxes. So it's a little bit faster way for the county to collect some money now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the next strategy are tax deeds or tax deed foreclosures. And what tax deed states do is they just go ahead and wait and let the property be delinquent through the redemption period.
Yeah, they give it a redemption period by state law, so that there's a set period of time the property owner has one of the things that's different about it is that it's the county generally that is foreclosing on the property. And so what the county's doing is they're waiting out that redemption period in order to foreclose. But at the end of it, they'll foreclose on the property and they will then offer it up at an auction to the general public, with the opening bid being the total amount that's owed in taxes, penalties, fees, anything that's owed on the property, they'll combine in the opening bid.
Yeah, exactly. So when we're buying tax deeds, we're buying property itself. We're buying real estate. And so in doing so, and because we're buying real estate, we're going to put a lot more due diligence and research into buying tax deed properties versus buying a tax lien certificate. With a tax lien, 95% of the time it's going to redeem, but with a tax deed, we're actually buying the property. So it's property ownership. So it really is real estate. It's just a buying method within real estate.
Yeah, it's a buying method, and also the foreclosure that the county takes these properties through is a judicial foreclosure based and according to state laws. So it's a powerful foreclosure that has the ability to wipe out or extinguish most any kind of claim to the property. And basically what that means is that the county can foreclose on the property because of delinquent taxes. Whether it's a bank that owns it, whether it's a private individual, it doesn't matter who owns it. If they don't pay the property taxes, that foreclosure is binding.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a great opportunity to buy properties for literally pennies on the dollar, because many times these properties are being sold for just the delinquent back taxes.
Yeah, that's what they'll start at, because that's essentially what the county needs to recover on it, is that minimum amount at least. But beyond that, it doesn't really matter how much these properties sell for. And that's part of the reason why there's such an opportunity here. The party that's selling these properties doesn't have that personal interest in getting out a certain amount, cash price out of it. To them, as long as it reaches the opening bid amount, they have reached their objective.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, there's strategies that we teach our membership about different areas where properties are willing to accept offers for even less than taxes owed. And that's kind of what we can see here in the examples in both of these properties. In that property on the left, that was actually purchased by one of our members for $100, and it was worth about six or seven grand or so, and they actually sent out neighbor letters to the neighbors letting them know that it's available, and they'll give it to them for a discounted cost at $2,900. And we're able to turn around and sell that property within 30 days or so for $2,900, and made a pretty good profit on it.
Yeah, in fact, it was an incredible deal. Really, these types of properties, it might sound almost unbelievable to be able to get a property for $100, because that sounds like a giveaway, like it's pretty much for free, and it really is pretty much for free. What we've been able to find here over the years are different areas around the country that have property that has been sitting on the county books or on the records for many years. Counties aren't really great at selling things, and when they get some of these properties that don't get taxes paid on them and maybe don't sell at auction immediately, one of the problems with that is that the opening bid amount for that property, or how much it costs, continues to go up as long as it's delinquent. And the higher it goes up, the more unattractive the property becomes. And it gets to the point where they know that nobody will ever buy these properties because they're upside down.
Yeah.
And so many of them have been sitting on these properties for a long time. But with the internet now, they have a tool that allows them to reach a much bigger base of people to sell a lot of this stuff. And so we're seeing them unload some of this inventory, and they're willing to basically do so for nothing, because it's not really about trying to collect any specific amount to them anymore. They just want to get it into the hands of a new owner. And that's where we can facilitate and help the permanent owners find those properties.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of these properties are good examples of that particular strategy. In fact, we're getting success stories on a weekly basis from some of our coaching members that are going through and selling properties. In fact, this is one from Helen. We want to congratulate her. She actually picked up this property here on the right, at least the photo of it, for $200. She was able to turn around and sell it for $2,500 and made a nice little return on it. So you're not going to, off of $2,500, you're not going to retire. But it gives you a chance to go through the process without all of the stress of putting all of your money into a larger property. In fact, we've got a couple of larger properties, and so you don't just need to go out there and do this type of strategy, but it's a good way to get started as you go out and do bigger type of deals.
Yeah, well, and really what Helen has done here is, other than buying this property for $200, which is amazing, she's gone through the process of locating, researching, buying a property, and then selling the property for even a profit, where she makes a couple $1,000s on it plus, and is able to then transfer it over and have additional capital to work with, plus all of that knowledge that she has gained from that, but also self-confidence, the confidence to know that she's done it and that she can do it again. That's almost hard to quantify.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a couple of other properties. Property there on the left was picked up for $30,000, and our coaching member was able to turn around and sell this within a short period of time to another investor or somebody that was going to buy it for $80,000, was able to make a quick $50,000 off of it.
Yeah, that was an interesting property because his original plans were to take a little bit longer approach with it that he thought might bring in more, sell it for more money in the end, but it would also take a bigger, financial commitment and time commitment. But he was contacted by somebody that had been, looking for it for a while and wanted it, and so for that quick transaction, it really worked great.
Yeah. Property on the right's a nice little single family home that was purchased through an online auction, where going through the process of doing a little fix up on it and then turn around and sell that or rent that out. That's one of the advantages when you pay $6,000 for a home like that. You have a lot of different things you could do with it. I mean, if you decide to even put a little money, get it ready to rent out, you could suddenly start generating a income that could pay off your investment within a year or two.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if there are questions there about the coaching program, Vic, if you did send in something here a couple of days ago, we apologize. We'll have to get back you here to give you some of the information here on it. It's not a huge program. It's kind of small actually, and part of that is, I think, because of the way that we kind of set it up. We didn't want to do anything related to coaching unless it would be based around success, unless we based around helping people make money, and figuring out how to exactly do that with coaching, has been something that we've been kind of feeling our way through here for the last few years in terms of getting people doing deals. But it's really picking up speed right now and working well. So as we get openings, we can bring more people into it. But at this point, we basically have more people trying to get in than we have, coaching capacity.
Yeah. So as far as redemption deeds are a little bit different. They're kind of a funny thing. Redemption deeds are tax deeds that have a redemption period. And so they're a little bit of a hybrid of both tax liens and tax deeds.
Yeah, they have to be treated more like a tax deed because you're dealing with property ownership, but they're also a time-locked investment in a way, kind of like a lien, in that you may not be able to immediately do whatever you want in terms of like selling the property. The redemption deeds are basically deeds that are sold with a redemption period, which prevents you from being able to sell or transfer the ownership during that time period.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one thing about redemption deeds is they tend to have a shorter redemption period than a tax lien certificate. Usually they're 6 months to a year in most cases. In addition to that, there's also ownership rights that are extended to deed holders during that redemption period.
Oh, and by the way, Armand, for the openings, so we do have some of the coaching members, that are, kind of graduating from the program. We never kick anybody out, but you get to a point where you're not engaged in regular one-on-one sessions, and so that is something that happens. But we actually have some people that handle the enrollment stuff for us, and so
yeah, really, our coaching program comes from our membership, or I guess backwards.
Yeah. Well, that's true. It does come from our membership program, because everybody.
That's really where, even if somebody's interested in coaching, we'll usually have them get started in the membership program, get their feet wet for a little while before even getting started with the coaching.
Yeah, that's true. That is probably the best place to begin, is there with the membership. Now with redemption deeds, a couple of things to remember with redemption deeds is this: they do have the ability to redeem. But when redemption occurs, what is paid out is with redemption deeds is usually a flat penalty rate or a flat rate of return, based on a time frame. So in Texas, for instance, which is probably the most famous state that we know of that uses redemption deeds, they have a 6-month redemption period on most all real estate. But it's a 2-year redemption period on homestead land or farmland. Is that right?
Yeah.
So most of the property they have at auction has a 6-month redemption period that's attached to it, but they also have a 25% annual penalty rate. So it means if something redeems, you're going to get a flat 25% no matter when it redeems.
Yeah, exactly. So if we were to buy that on, Tuesday of this week, and the property owner came and redeemed today, 2 days later, we would make a 25% return off that. Now, the one thing that is important to point out about redemption deeds is that you're more likely to get the property than you are with a tax lien certificate. In fact, sometimes we'd say it's as high as 50%, if not higher chance of you getting the property with some of these redemption deeds. And
so, it's not quite like liens where you have the vast majority of these are all going to end up resulting in redemption. These properties have come further down that pipeline of property delinquency, and so they are more likely to continue down that direction.
Yeah.
A couple of examples of some redemption deeds.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing that's nice about some of these redemption deed states, in particular Texas and Georgia, is they can have auctions up to every single month. And so there's always new inventory coming up for sale. And this is an example of some properties that have come up for sale. And you can see that they have an opening bid starting as low as $3,600 and as high as $32,000. But each one of these properties has a high value. Now, one thing that's also different about redemption deeds is you're not going to be bidding down the interest rate like you would with a tax lien. You're going to be bidding up the price like you would with a tax deed. So the opening bid on that property on the far left for $4,900, the top left, it's going to start at $4,900, but it could bid up to $15,000.
Yeah, they can bid up. It's getting familiar with the bidding systems and how they work is part of it, because most likely if you're going to be purchasing, you're going to be buying it, from an auction, or the only other option really is over the counter. But auctions are how most of these redemption deeds are offered and sold.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's get into online auctions. We first started seeing online auctions when we first got started in tax sales in the early 2000s, and really since that time, the online auctions have just really exploded.
Yeah, well, and I believe they're going to end up being the future of auctions, because it's really about being able to reach more people. And ultimately, it's about making it more convenient. But every single county that that brings one of their sales online sees increased profitability. It's just a fact. So we believe that eventually, that's what they'll all end up doing. But they're not quite there yet. We still have a lot of them that conduct live sales. But online auctions are more common now than they've ever been, and we just keep seeing more and more, popping up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it gives you the advantage of being able to bid from anywhere. So, wherever you're located, you can bid in tax lien certificates, tax deed sales without, without actually attending the auction or without being there in person.
Now, the auction sites and how online auctions work is actually similar to a lot of other online auctions for things like for other programs out there. But it also varies somewhat depending on what's being offered and who is doing the offering. So for instance, liens are offered differently. We've talked about, a couple of different ways that they can be offered. And so in some ways they're going to resemble, systems that we're familiar with, but there might be some things about these that will be new to you.
Yeah, in fact, if you're on the call this evening, or if you've ever participated in an eBay auction, you can probably navigate how these auctions work. And so, some will let you go ahead and post your high bid before the auction has taken place, and then it'll actually automatically increase your bid as other people bid against you, kind of like it would in eBay. And so like Shade said, every auction is going to be a little different. There's tax deed auctions that will start at a specific time, and then we'll sell each property, on that list one at a time. And so it'll put up the first property, and there'll be an auction on that property to the high bidder, and then it'll just continue going on through the list.
One of the questions is, do you have a checklist on how to look for and find redemption deeds? We do have checklists in terms of the steps that we go through. When it comes to looking for and finding redemption deed lists, a lot of this is done on a county level, and so part of the challenge is figuring out exactly which area it is that you're going to be working in. If you know that, yeah. If you don't know that, which is where a lot of people are, they're just not sure where they want to begin.
Well, and as part of our membership program, you're going to have access to any of the redemption deed list or the auctions that are taking place, because that's part of the service. So we're going through and looking at any of the redemption deed auctions and essentially having those lists available along with tax lien and tax deed auctions.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess the answer to that is, yeah, we do have checklists on how to find that stuff. And really, you can get to a point pretty quickly where you don't necessarily have to have a checklist when it comes to finding the list. It'll just kind of become second nature to you. With the online auction providers, there are a number of different auction companies out there. One of the things that separates some of the different sites is whether or not they are a site that is for a single sale. Or whether it is one of the multi-sale sites, where you have some of these companies, some of these auction companies may provide auctions for a single state, or they actually may provide for multiple states.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as a multiple state provider, these are usually going to be the largest companies. They're going to offer their services nationwide, and they're also going to have more than one state that uses their system.
Yeah, so a good example of one of these is Bid for Assets. They offer, they provide the online auctions for a number of different states. We see, California properties listed there, a lot of Washington properties, but also Idaho, Nevada, Michigan, and more than that even.
Yeah, and one thing about Bid for Assets is they're kind of like an eBay for county auctions. So they're just going to have one website that has all of the different auctions, and the auctions are going to have a different page essentially, or web page within that website where that auction is going to be held.
Yeah. Now, another is realauction.com. They are an auction company that is unique in what they do. What they do is they will set up websites specifically for individual counties, so that the county will have its own little auction web portal and website that they can use. So it's almost like the county created it itself, but in reality, what it is it's private labeled. They're private labeled auctions that Real Auction creates for them. So Real Auction's a pretty big provider. They also cover liens and deeds for all of these states.
Yeah. So if Arizona has 4 or 5 counties that use Real Auction system, every one of those counties is going to have its own website that is completely dedicated to that county's auction. In fact, some of these some of these Real Auction websites will also offer the over-the-counter tax liens on the website as well after the auction has taken place.
Yeah, which they're also very easy, very user-friendly. Grand Street Group is another one of these large companies that provide auctions for multiple states. The Grand Street Group auctions are not quite as easy to to use at a glance, but they're not too hard either. But they cover it for a number of different states here. They have some in Florida, Arizona, Maryland, and as well as California.
Yeah, they offer both tax liens and tax deed auctions like Real Auction does. And they also will kind of compete for the same state. So they both have, counties in Florida and Arizona. And then they both offer tax deed auctions in Florida as well.
Yeah, now many of these online auction companies are advertising not just the tax deed properties, but also the bank foreclosures that the county has, because those foreclosures still have to be run through the county. And so you'll see that we can see all the foreclosures that are listed here on this slide versus the tax deed sale, which had 2 items there for December. So they actually list both. And what we generally pay attention to, well, it depends. If there are good enough deals in the mortgage foreclosure stuff, we could pick that. But generally, the tax deed properties are the cheapest or the best, the best in terms of profitability.
Yeah, Civic Source is one of those auction websites where all of the bidding is going to take place and all of the counties are going to be on the same website. So kind of like Bid for Assets, and they're going to have a number of different states that offer. They are the primary online auction company for Louisiana. They also do some tax lien sales from other states and offer both liens and deeds. And so they're starting to grow over time, but Louisiana is really their biggest client.
Yeah. Zeus Auctions is another one kind of like that. They are the primary in Iowa?
Well, they do all of Iowa,
Indiana.
But Indiana is kind of where they started from. They also do tax lien auctions in Colorado, so many of the tax lien auctions were held there in Louisiana as well.
Yeah. Now, the single state providers are some of these that have a maybe are focused on a single state and or maybe even a single county.
Yeah. So all of the single state providers will have all of the counties auctions within that state in using one website. So taxsale.info is Michigan's website, and all of the counties in Michigan will list their online auctions using taxsale.info.
Yeah, see, what's basically been happening here over recent decades, as counties are getting their online record systems set up, some of them have moved over to online auctions faster, and it usually comes out of a matter of necessity. Some of those, for instance, in Michigan, I think the state began working at providing a solution here, which is their tax-sale.info. This is the site where they conduct a lot of their auctions, but also where they can place over-the-counter inventory. But there's you can find a lot of those things in different states.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a number of different websites out there that are used specifically for that state, and you can go there and look for any auctions that are happening within that state.
Yeah, nysauctions.com, is one that we look at for all of the New York stuff. Has fantastic opportunities, but also really all of these have good opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we're doing online, we're looking at online auctions, a couple of things that we've got to be aware of. We kind of go through a process here of trying to identify auctions that we want to participate in, and seeing what their availability is to determine whether or not we want to go through these steps here.
Yeah, absolutely. So once we've determined that there's an auction that we're interested in, we're going to go ahead and get registered. Now, that's one of the first things we're going to want to do. And also, once we register, and one thing that's nice about online auctions is they're going to have all of the information as far as FAQs, auction rules, information about the sale, how soon payment needs to be made. All of that is important information because you may need to have a registration done at a certain time, or even do a deposit by a certain time.
Yeah, they need to basically address any questions that come up, without, because you're not there, they need to be able to make sure that they can address all the questions there. So they try to do that with the process you go through to register. Now, the other thing about registration too is that oftentimes they're going to require, some of these may require a deposit or something like that to be placed in by a certain date. Always check the deadlines on these auctions here, because the date for for deposits to be put in is going to come before the auction date. You don't want to miss that, and and therefore be conducting due diligence on properties that you can't bid on.
Yeah. So once we've registered, we're going to go ahead and start researching the property. Now, researching through an online auction is just like any investment. Now, one thing that's nice about online auctions is a lot of that research can be done using the online county resources and tools. And a lot of times those online auctions are going to have links right there that'll take you back to the county maps or the county records, the assessor records, tax records, different things like that.
Yeah, in fact, most of the online auctions make it really easy to obtain the information about the property. So in that way, they can save us a lot of time. We can see all of that information really quickly. I mean, really within a couple of clicks, we can find what used to require travel, when you wanted to participate in auctions, 25 years ago.
Yeah. Now, once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and start bidding online.
Yeah, which, bidding online is going to be fairly simple. For the most part. There's different systems that are involved, but for the most part, though, you're either going to have an opportunity to set your maximum bid, or you'll know the time window in which the property is going to be sold.
Yeah, and like any auction, it's important to not become an emotional bidder. This is something we train our membership on, because it's very easy that the auction format, even with an online auction, is used.
They're trying to make you emotional about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It feeds on emotion. Auctions do, that's what drives their success in a lot of ways. Is people getting emotional about what they're bidding on, and so the best way to combat that is to have a maximum bid set beforehand that's based on your profitability and just not to exceed that.
Yeah, exactly. If we're going into a tax lien certificate, we know exactly how low we're willing to go as far as our interest rate return if we're bidding down the interest. Same thing with the tax deed. In fact, even more so, we're going to know exactly how high we're willing to bid on that property, because the last thing we ever want to do is overpay for one of these.
Yeah, we would rather lose properties, and need to bid again than to win properties at a higher price than what we want to pay.
Yeah, exactly. So once we went ahead and bidded, and the auction has ended, we've been awarded a property, then we're going to make payment arrangement and get that all taken care of.
Yeah, which payment arrangements with online auctions are also much easier than it used to be. In a lot of cases, you can even pay online, using credit cards in some cases. But what they'll oftentimes do, though, is you'll have to make a certain deposit in order to participate in the auction, and they'll use that deposit towards your purchases, and then you're required to pay the additional amount within a set time period, usually less than 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Now, once you've paid for the tax lien or deed, the county will go ahead and record that. And then usually you'll be, at least in the case of deeds, you're going to be issued the deed to the property, usually within a month. It can be longer than that. It kind of depends on the individual area. And depending on the state as well, you could be issued a lien, a certificate lien, or it may be kind of more of an online transaction, like in the case of Florida, where you'll get onto a website to look up your lien information.
Yeah. Now, let's see here. One of the questions here. Is there any site to look for online property search for different states and how to go for it? You know, so when it comes to property research that we do, or I don't know if you're talking about the research that we do on the properties, or if you're talking about trying to find the properties there initially, because when we're finding the properties initially, it's a different process that we go through, you know, because we're specifically looking for information about, you know, when they conduct their tax sales and, you know, what they do with properties that don't sell, you know, leftovers and things like that. So we kind of know specifically where we're going to go and look because we find out who's responsible in that area and begin looking there. But it's usually going to be a treasurer or a tax collector that's responsible for it.
Yeah, for a lot of the research, we're going to use the county services that are available online. So like Shade said, the tax collector, we're going to go research the tax records or the assessor records. Or if we're researching for past liens on the property, for example, we may go research the court records. But when it comes to actually, you know, looking at lists, we're going to use the tax sale support membership program or the website, because we're usually generating or getting around 500 auction lists each month, whether that be a live auction where you're attending in person or something like an online auction where we're going to be directing you to the online auction. There's a ton of new opportunity that's available each month. And so kind of depending on the month is going to depend on what auctions are available.
Yeah, we also have all of the links that you can get, you know, use to get to the various online auctions, you know, on this site on tax sale support. So really, the primary purpose of I guess the tax sale support plays, at least one of the big purposes it plays, is in simplifying the process of finding lists. You know, it dramatically simplifies that so that you don't have to go and look in each individual county to try to get the list. You can look at the list first, and then if you see properties that you're interested in, or if it looks good, then you can go to the county and you know, and you can get the latest version of the list there if they have it. And when you're there at the county there with the list, you can also get any property records or information there on their website. So it's a good time to perform that research as well.
Yeah, something we teach our coaching members is the difference between a local investment versus an opportunity investment.
Oh yeah, between two different approaches to getting started, really, or to buying property. Really, it can really apply to every single purchase.
Yeah.
You know, it's either going to be an opportunity-based approach or a location-based approach to finding property.
So if you're just interested in your location-based approach, you know, which is meaning I just want to focus on where I'm at, then there's only finding out when your auction's taking place, how do you bid locally, and trying to, you know, and
see if there's any over-the-counter opportunities if they even offer it.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're going to be kind of working with what's available there within your area. So we live here in Utah. There's really not a ton of over-the-counters. Most of the properties get sold at the yearly auction, and they're all done in live. So we've got to attend those different auctions if we want to participate in them, and they're all held in the month of May. So really, we're only investing here locally or even interested in the month of May. So otherwise, we're going to look at an opportunity-based approach. And if that's the strategy that you're taking, then that's where the auction calendar and all of that additional information from the membership could be a big benefit.
Yeah, that's where we're just looking for the most bang for the buck, you know, anywhere where we can find some good opportunities. And so an opportunity-based approach will work a lot of times if you're just looking for the opportunity to buy. Yeah, at the same time though, a location-based approach can always be implemented. You know, that's something you can always use because you may decide at some point that you want property in a certain area. And that's really the process you're going to go through to try to maximize that area, you know, to try to make the most effective use of the opportunities that are there that you can.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing about tax sale investing is we have a lot of different people that are coming to us with different strategies. Some people are looking to invest there within their own area versus investing all across the country and just looking for deals. And that's part of why we want to talk about online auctions tonight, is the one thing that online auctions give you the ability to do is to invest from anywhere. So it doesn't matter if you're in California, which is a tax deed state, and you want to invest in tax liens, because you can invest in tax liens in Arizona coming up in February, or Iowa in June, or Florida in May and June. And so there's, or Maryland in, March. And so there's all of these different auctions that are coming up that you can participate in through online auctions.
Yeah. So for example, here with the website, this is tax sale support, and under the list center here, we've got a lot, where we have access to all the lists there, whether it's going to be the auction calendar. If it's the calendar, then we can see here that with the calendar, we've got different auctions, that are happening, and we can actually, we can see different kinds of sales. These are tax deed auctions, and we can see they're online auctions here this way if we want to look at it this way. But there are tons and tons of sales happening. We can identify opportunities this way if we're looking for stuff within a certain state, or if we're just looking in general. We can also identify them using other methods here. So let's say if it's over-the-counter opportunities, then we could go to the over-the-counter database here, which we're going to look at the type of investment first, whether it's tax deeds or liens or redemption deeds. So if it was over-the-counter deeds here, then we could go here and download lists of what the over-the-counter inventory is, and you can kind of start this process here of downloading anything here. So once you once you've got your list, and you can start the due diligence process. And due diligence, the way that we approach it is we try to do it based on the size of the investment. We try to do proportionate due diligence, we call it. That will determine just how far we go, but we also do it in stages. So the first set of steps we go through is what we call basic or initial due diligence. And for a low dollar investment, that we might be able to learn enough, but as the investment cost goes up, also so does the amount of research that we've got to do into the property.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing goes with the online auction as well. We have an online auction tab that, just like the over-the-counters, will go ahead and show you any of the online auctions that are taking place.
Yeah, and they're separated by by states, so we can access we can go to them specifically if we want to look into different counties here. So we can also check out land banks. We've got access here to here in the website to all the different land banks that have been popping up, and many of the opportunities there. But there are a lot of places where you can link. These are all different online opportunities here. So we've got
and the list service is only a small portion of what's included with the membership program. So we're going to have over 1,000 pages of training guides and materials available in download form. We're going to have hours of recordings available. We're going to have a lot of different things available to members of our membership program.
Yeah. So basically the membership program is what we wanted to provide that would be inexpensive, or at least not cost you too much, but be able to provide a lot of content, plus the lists. And this is really where a lot of people from the coaching and stuff, it usually comes from here. So it's set at $39 a month, so it's a monthly subscription, or you can get it also for $29 a year if you want to buy a year subscription.
Yeah, exactly. We offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can cancel, give your money back. We don't have too many of those happen a year, but when they do, go ahead and give it back. It's not a big deal, because we really have tried to offer as much as we possibly can within our membership. In fact, what we did is we took a program that the seminar companies were selling with in a nice package that had the books and the CDs. We just put that information online, but they sold that for between $2,000 to $3,000. And so we just took that and said, let's take our program that they're selling for $2,000 to $3,000, let's put it on a monthly membership where people can cancel, they can stay as long or as little as they want, and let's give them as much information as we possibly can.
Yeah, yeah. And so basically, with just the home study program, though, and access to the website, a lot of people can have success with that. I don't know that you necessarily have to have more than that. The coaching program that we have is different from just the standard monthly membership. But at the same time, though, it's a fairly small program that, I think is great for, it's not, I guess, for everybody, I would say. It's, it's for some of the members that we have that want the additional help. And so once you're in the program there, if you want more information on coaching, we can always get you more information on coaching. But a lot of times, we have limited openings anyway.
Yeah, and another great way to learn is to come and attend one of our 3-day workshops. We've started holding these, every couple of months, where we're going out to a different location and spending 3 days really teaching people, just kind of like we did over the last hour, but it's going to be packed for 3 days, the skills that you need to know to learn how to invest into tax liens and deeds and really make a business of it.
Yeah, in fact, on February 7th, 8th, and 9th, we are going to be in Southern California area.
Orange County.
Orange County area there will be, and
it's most likely going to be, in the Anaheim area. Maybe it's Garden Grove, Anaheim, somewhere within that area.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. We've got lots of members that are out there in California, and so we're excited to finally be getting out there. But really, the 3 days are a chance to cover a lot of content. For instance, everything here related to tax liens and deeds, and how they work, how to research with them, how to. But even beyond that, what this is all building towards. If you want to get additional real estate, if you're looking into rehabs or bigger properties, if you want multifamily or income property. There are a lot of different things we're going to cover over the course of 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. And, in the past, me and Shade were offering our 3-day training for $29.95 or $3,000. And so when it came to this, what we wanted to do is we wanted to really discount that cost and make it so that as many people can attend it as want to. And so, for members, we went ahead and discounted that down to $9.97.
Yeah, and it's a pretty nice event too. It includes lunches, and it's we keep them pretty small. They're fairly small events so that they're not too crazy there with with a number of people.
Yeah, in fact, we just did one in Florida in December, and we ended up filling up that event, and I'm sure we'll end up filling up this one here pretty quickly as well.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. And any of the other sales we've got different opportunities coming up here, different events coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in our membership program, please check us out. And we're going to go ahead and repost the replay of this as well. So we'll go ahead and send that, email that out to you as well.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see everybody soon.
Thank you.